really goofy part. Be really patient with yourself because this is not easy. Now, I've set up the window like this so I can see both the node view very clearly. The, the commanding node in the node view is the eye because that is the color that is going to act as the mask to all of these. In other words, this color is only going to be visible when it makes contact with the white of the eye, right? Okay, so if I deselect that, and this pupil will only be visible when it's making contact with the white of the eye. So once it goes out of range, it has to become invisible. So we have to say the color override only recognizes white. The cutter cuts out anything that isn't that white color. All right? So now we have to set these up in the proper kind of order for them to behave in a way to achieve this. Let's begin. I'm going to grab this cutter over here because we're doing the pupil first and drag it kind of underneath because it's at the base of everything. Okay, and I'm going to unplug the pupil for now. Okay, because we're just be replugging stuff and etc. etc. The eye is critically most important, and it's going to stay plugged in for now. Okay, so I'm going to move the cutter kind of right over top of the composite module, and I'm going to grab the color override here, take that a little bit off to the side. Okay, I'm going to keep the pupil to this side. Let's just get these two dudes right out of the way. I really want there to be room to see this setup. Don't worry about the pegs. They just move stuff. They don't care about this. So the eye is plugged in. So let's just start plugging stuff in. So let's take the pupil. All right. And I'm just going to pull the pupil over here. And I'm going to plug it in to the cutter like that. Okay. Then I'm going to take the eye, and I can do this. I can add an extra, pull out an extra wire here and plug that into the color override. Okay. So we plugged the pupil into the cutter and the eye into the color override. Now, the eye is going from color override, and color override is going into cutter. So effectively, then we're making a mask. See there it says matte. There's the matte. Okay, so the pupil now knows that the eye is the matte. Now we have to just simply plug the cutter in, I think. So let's just do that. Let's grab the cable, plug it in, and there it is. Now I want to make sure of one thing. Cutter, make sure that the inverted checkbox is on. If it's not on, pupil disappears. Turn it on. Okay. Now to test this, we go to the pupil peg and move it. Oh yeah. See that? So as long as it's on the white, it is no longer visible. Anyway, now it's visible. I mean, it's I can definitely see it. So let's just grab it. Sorry, it's just that my there we go. Now let's do the same thing with the lid. I hope that made sense. So the lid, the same thing, but the color override. The lid is a little bit simpler. Cutter. So the lid is going to plug one into color override. The color override is going into the cutter. The lid is going into the cutter. And the cutter is going into the composite. And again, let's just make sure that that's, see how quickly you can make something go wrong. I think I just did this wrong. I did. You know why? Because of one really critical reason. Do you know why? That's what has to be invisible. Let's drag that eye. Eye is the main thing. Drag the eye over here. And the lid, like the pupil, is going to follow the same path. All right. So the eye also goes into that color override. All right. And comes out of that into this part of the cutter. And that cutter is going to plug in right. Oh, stupid. Here. The lid, we're going to unplug and plug that into the cutter. And there, it's inverted, and there we go. So when I pick the lid, good, I'm glad I have the pivot point in place. I have an eyelid that works. Okay? Boy, oh boy, you see how you really have to focus on this? Oh great, I just unplugged that. I have a really solid mouse pad here. But that's essentially how we get that to function. Okay? Work on this very carefully and very slowly. Remember that the key element here is the eye. That the last thing that we plug into is the cutter. Cutter has to be inverted, and that the lid and pupil also plug into one side of the cutter. There's an instruction that I'll try and include that shows another character, but it essentially shows the same setup. Okay, so there's something to mess with. Good luck, and may the force of the eye be with you.